Okay, tonight's the night. Season 3 of the TV show Alone premieres on the History Channel at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And I've got some really cool news to tell you about the show coming up on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me. So I watch very little TV, but the one show for the last 2 years that I have not missed a single episode of is the hit show Alone on the History Channel. And Season 3 premieres tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the History Channel. So I'm really excited to be able to tell you that the History Channel and Alone have partnered with Survival on Purpose to bring you this video. So if you haven't seen the show, it's just a really cool concept. They take 10 people who are experienced in survival and they put them in the wild all alone and see who can last the longest. Whoever lasts the longest wins a $500,000 prize. So that's pretty cool. So the first season, a fellow Georgia boy won, which I thought was pretty cool. And then last year, the second season, my YouTube friend Larry Roberts, I thought he was going to win, but he was the second place finisher. He did a great job. So the first 2 seasons, they dropped these people off at Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Well, this year they're changing things up completely. They're going all the way to the other end of the planet, to the Rio Negro Province in Patagonia, Argentina. So that should make for a pretty interesting season. And this season they're going to have 7 men and 3 women. Whoever lasts the longest, $500,000. But this year they're also giving one lucky viewer a chance to win a prize. We'll tell you about that at the end of this video. So maybe like you, if I'm watching the show, I try to think how I would do and how I would handle a certain situation. And I started thinking for this video, what would be maybe one of the most important skills you would need to have in Patagonia. I think in Patagonia or in Vancouver or wherever, I think one of the most important skills you can have is the ability to make fire. So I thought what we'd do is take you down the old stump top and I'll show you what I think is just some critical components in the ability to make fire and why that's so important. Here are a couple of items that I think are essential to wilderness survival. One of them is going to be a really good survival knife, a good strong full tang knife. It's got a good edge on it and a sharp spine that allows you to strike a spark from a ferro rod like so. If you saw either of the first 2 seasons of Alone, you know that the ferro rod played a pretty high part in some of the drama. You know, Joe Robinette, actually, the first season, who's a very experienced, very competent outdoorsman, he actually somehow lost his ferro rod and pretty much made the decision that it was hopeless without it because it was a very challenging environment to have fire. So, you know, that pretty much tapped him out. And then last season, one of the contestants actually burnt his ferro rod up in the fire, which I guess it just disintegrated. And he was able to stay going because of his primitive fire skills, but that's a whole nother level of challenge there. And so we got to give him credit for that. So this is great that you got the ability to make some sparks here. But so what you need is some really small, fine, combustible material to start your fire. One thing you can do is take a bigger piece of wood like this and you can break it down. And that's the process called batoning. And there's 2 main reasons that you would want to baton a piece of wood. First would be to, if it was wet on the outside, maybe been on the ground or whatever, been raining, you could break into the inside of it and get to some drier wood. And second is just to create a smaller piece of wood that you can work with. So the way you baton your wood is you take and you put your blade on top of the wood, and then you get another piece of wood that you hit it with. One reason I like batoning is because you can see it's very controllable. And you're not chopping a blade next to your hand. If you remember season 2 of the Alone show, one of the contestants actually was splitting wood with an axe and cut her hand really badly in it. That caused her to have to drop out of the competition. So in my opinion, batoning is a lot safer and more controllable. So we'll break this down one more time. Okay, so once you get down to some smaller wood, the next step in the process that I like to do is carving some feathers, and basically that just means carving some really fine shavings off that are going to catch fire a lot easier because they have less overall mass and it takes less heat to make them burn, start them burning. So it's really helpful to have a nice sharp edge to start with on your wood, and we'll just take and carve off some really fine feathers. You can see how they just curl right off there. You can leave them on the stick, try to leave them on the stick, or you can just make a pile of them. I usually just make a pile because it's really hard to leave them on sometimes, especially like you see how those stay on there, especially with dry wood, because they want to crumble off. So this is really dry, which is good from a fire standpoint. So we'll just make a little pile of these feathers and get right back to you. Okay, so we got a nice little pile here of curls, feathers, whatever you want to call them. So the next step in the process would be you want to have some slightly larger pieces of wood here to put on your pile, so that when they do start burning, you can continually increase the size of wood until you're able to have enough heat and enough fire to get logs burning. And if you can find some sticks, that's a good thing to do, just small twigs or sticks that are really dry. Or you can also, one thing I like to do is just take the wood that you've been using to make feathers and just split it out down smaller and smaller. And this is a pretty good method to do it if you got a good stump or something, or a log to work on. The key to having a successful fire, is preparation. Okay, so we've got our shavings here. We've got some smaller pieces of wood over here. Now the next step is to take our ferro rod and strike into the shavings. Now there are a couple of different philosophies about using a ferro rod. Fire steel, ferrocerium rod is a technical name for it. And you have to have a good sharp striker. In this case, I've got my knife. I've actually ground the back of the knife off a little bit to make it even sharper, because I just think that's important enough. So, but the two philosophies are, one way is basically that you can hold your striker stationary, like so, and then you pull your rod, and that allows you to really not knock your tinder around. I prefer to do it like this. It just works better for me. So you certainly do have a chance of knocking your tinder around, but if you're careful, you probably won't do that. And just practice makes perfect, right? So let's see what we got going on here. It's not one to flame. Okay, sometimes you got to really throw some heat on it, but now we got flame. So then you just want to start, let it kind of establish itself. Then you want to, I typically like to have something a little big, leave a little air gap under it, just to allow the wood you put on it to have a little room to breathe. And just start stacking some wood in you want to make sure you leave plenty of room for air to circulate around, and not just pile everything on top and to smother your fire. But if you do that, leave it in slight disarray, and start with some really smaller pieces, give them a chance to catch. Then once they've kind of caught, you got a little better chance for put some bigger wood on. You can see it's starting to catch now, so that's good. I always start with your really smaller pieces first, and then just keep adding slowly to the fire. Or you can just take a big bundle of small dry stuff and put it on there too, but I don't have that here. This is what we have, so sometimes you have to adapt your technique to your situation. But basically, once you get to about this point here, you got a pretty sustainable fire if you just make sure you got enough of this small stuff on here to really catch. I'm pretty confident this fire here, I could start putting bigger stuff on now, and it's going to go. This is a done deal. We have what I would consider sustainable fire. Okay, so that's really what I consider the basics of the most important skill you can have to survive in Patagonia or any wilderness. Once again, Season 3 of the hit TV show Alone premieres tonight on History Channel at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So like I said at the beginning of the video, in addition to the contestants having an opportunity to win a prize this year, one lucky viewer is also going to have an opportunity to win 2 prizes. First of all, at the end of Season 3, they're going to pick one lucky viewer to win a $500 gift certificate to a outdoor sports retailer and one of the new Alone cards, which is pretty cool. And what this is basically, it is a it's kind of like a credit card size survival tool. This edge here is definitely sharp enough to allow you to get some do a little bit of carving type task and make some feathers maybe. Then it's got a pretty good 90-degree spine for using a ferro rod. So, but anyway, you can enter every single day. There'll be a link in the description below to where you can enter for your chance to win a $500 gift card to an outdoor sports retailer and one of these cool Alone cards. So once again, I'd like to thank the folks at Alone and the History Channel for partnering with Survival on Purpose to bring you this video. And as always, thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing, thanks for clicking that thumbs up, and for sharing this video with all your friends. Once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time. You know we got to check it, right?